Hi! Welcome back to another video. This time I'm going to discuss fundamentals of analytics using Excel. My name is Dr. Haji Tehuko. In this video I'm going to share the following topics. One is we're going to define what is Excel. Second is interface of Excel, formula, library, and auditing tools, syntax of formulas, fixed and relative references, common error messages, use of IFERROR function, Excel, useful commands and shortcuts, data validation, and volatile and fixed functions. So what is Excel? Excel is a spreadsheet program that allows you to store, organize, and analyze information. Excel is also used to compute complicated data. So, open your Excel browser by going to the Start button or Start menu and then search for the program if you're on Windows. Or if you're in Mac, open your dashboard and then we're going to see there your Excel. Once you have opened your Excel, please select the blank workbook. Once you have opened the blank workbook, this is the main interface of the Excel program. First thing here is that we have the access toolbars. This section here is our ribbon. This one here is our formula bar. This one here is the name box. This is a cell. This section here refers to the rows. This section here refers to the columns. Here is our worksheets. This section here is our worksheet view option, our zoom control, and we have our horizontal and vertical lines. Now, the first item here is the quick access toolbar. Lets you access common commands no matter which tab you select. You can customize the command depending on your preferences. The ribbon contains the commands you need to access Excel. It contains multiple tabs and they're also grouped together depending on the commands that you like to execute. The name box displays the location or name of the selected cell. The formula bar is where you could enter or edit data, formula or functions that will appear in a specific cell. Next is we have the each rectangle in a workbook is called a cell. A cell is the intersection of rows and columns. Okay. Next is we have a row. A row is a group of cells that runs from left of the page to the right. In Excel, rows are identified by numbers. A column is a group of cells that runs from top of the page to the bottom and it's being identified by the letters. Next is we have a workbook. Each workbook holds one or more worksheet. Okay, click the tab to switch between them. Okay, that is located at the lower part of the screen. Next is we have three different types of views here. Okay, this simplifies how you view the worksheet. Next is you could also use the slider that allows us to control how big, small is the item per page. And last is we have the scroll bar that allows you to scroll up and down depending on the size of your window. Next item is I'm going to discuss about the formula bar. Now let me exit first my PowerPoint and then open my spreadsheet program. So I have here Microsoft Excel. Just click on Excel. So I have the template section here. Click on blank and then click create. Once you have opened Excel, this is the main interface. So earlier I have discussed to you the different sections of the Excel interface. Now let's look into the formula section. So click on this tab. Now these are the different formulas that allows us to that can be used here in Excel. If you click here the arrow, so these are the different functions that you could use. Let's say here these are the financial functions. We have the logical functions. We have the text functions. We have the date and time. we have let me go back here, lookup, math, and you have here more function, both statistical, engineering, cube, information, compatibility, and the web. So that is how we use the function. So if you look at the function here, let's say go to reference, and then let's select here, let's say match. What Excel does is it shows us this particular formula var. Now, I would suggest that, well, there are several options. One is that you could use the formula section here, wherein you could just type here the values. And then if you refer to this section here, it defines the meaning of the function and then the syntax, how you were able to use the function. So you scroll down, we could look into the different definition. Another approach that you could use is by simply going to the formula bar, start with an equal sign, and then let's say we want to use here concatenate. So equals, as you type here the name of the function, let's say concatenate, enter, equals concatenate, okay, then tab. Now you have the option to just fill up the details. So as you can see, we have the name of the function here. Then these are the different arguments that you need to supply. So let's say, for example, first is the text one. Then if you have here, let's say A, then comma, then it moves to the second option, let's say B, comma, and then we move to the third option, and so on until you have completed the requirements for that particular function. Okay. Now, I would suggest that you could look into this option by typing here equal and then the name of the function. It's much easier, then you could be able to control how you work with Excel. Okay. So the next item here is our auditing tool. The auditing tool is found in this section. Okay. Now, if we go back here to our PowerPoint, let me go show you our auditing tools here. Now, the auditing tools allows us to evaluate the formula that we use. Now, let's say we have here, let me type here 1, 2, and then 3. And then let's say we want to compute for the product of the 3 items. So equals, open parenthesis, A1 multiplied by B multiplied by C, close parenthesis, enter. Now the product of 1, 2, 3 here, it's 6. But let's say, for example, you mistakenly type here that letter A instead of number 3. It will result to the error here. So what you could do is that you could look into the auditing tools. So let's say, for example, trace precedence. It will show you what particular cell that this particular computation is holding the values. Okay. Next is you could also check this one, show formula. So instead of the error that had been occurred, you could use or see here the formula. Fortunately for Mac users, this section here, evaluate formula, does not exist. I don't know what happened here, but if you're on a Windows machine or Windows program, this section here allows us to use evaluate formula. Evaluate formula means that you could go over each of the section in your formula, like looking at 1 multiplied by 2, then multiplied by 3. If there are errors, you could automatically see how it works. You could also use this error checking. If you click here, error checking, it will show to you what happened. Let's say A, this is our formula, A multiplied by C multiplied by A1 multiplied by B1 multiplied by C1. Then we have here an error in B3. Okay, so that is the resulting function here. So error in value, a value is used, a value used in the formula is wrong. Maybe the data in terms of the data type. So since we have here the letters for C1, instead of typing a numeric value, we type here a letter. So that indicates the error. So we could also use trace error if you like. Okay, so again, error is check complete for the entire worksheet. So all you need to do is again to change this, and then if you go back So if you go back here, so it still shows us the formula, but if you click show formulas, then it results to the evaluation of the expression. Okay, so if in case there will be errors, you could use the auditing tool to trace the precedence of your operation or your formula. Now let's look into formula syntax. In Excel, we have different ways on how we could refer to an item. First is we have the single cell reference. Then we have array references and non-contiguous references. A single reference is when describe a cell location within a worksheet in terms of the intersection between a row and at the same time a column. While an array reference is describe the continuous group of cells based on the location of the top left and then the bottom right cell. And last is we have a non-contiguous reference wherein describe the selection of individual cells that do not share common borders and is separated by a comma. Okay? Now let's look at an example here how we use referencing. Going to start with populating our values. So let's say we have a number here from 1 to 10, and then we're going to get the sum of the numbers. So based on our PowerPoint here, so the first item is a single reference value. So going back here, so let's say we want to compute for the if we want to show single reference, so we're going to say equals sum open parenthesis, let's say the number 5 and then close parenthesis. This is an example of a single reference value. Next is we're going to have an array reference. So what we're going to do here is, let's go back to our given problem. So we have here sum is equals to 5. Let's say we want to get the sum of all the numbers starting from 5 to 10. So what we're going to do here is simply position our cursor like this, drag it over up to 10. As you can see, it built up the series from A5 to A10, and then as we press enter, it automatically computes for the sum of the given numbers. That is our example for array reference. Now for non-contiguous reference, so let's say we want to compute the value, so let's remove this line here. Let's say we want to compute the sum of 2 and then 8. So we start with equals sum open parenthesis. So we start with 2. Then after that, press Control and then 8. Okay, where's that? Comma, and then here Control. Where's my Control? Okay, then comma, and then we have your 8. As you can see, we have your 8 here. Close parenthesis, enter. So the sum here is 10. So that is how we use the formula syntax. So this is the single cell reference, this is the array reference, and then we have here the non-contiguous or contiguous reference in Excel. Now let's move on to reference types. So here these are to create a fixed, relative, or mixed reference. The use of the dollar symbol here basically locks a specific cell range of reference so that it does not change if we apply the formula. So in this example, if you place the dollar sign before the column and before the row, this is what you call a fixed column. While here, if you place the dollar sign before the row, it's called a relative column and fixed column. While if you place the dollar sign before the column, it's called a fixed column and a relative column. While if you just have it on a regular item here, such as A1, it's called a relative column and relative row. Let's simulate that. Let's go now back to Excel. Okay, let me erase this section here. So what we're going to do is, let's say we create now a simple multiplication table. So I will populate the data here. So we have the numbers 1 to 10.
Okay. Then here is also our numbers 1 to 10. Okay. Now what we're going to do is, let's say we want to compute 1 multiplied by 1, it's 1, 1 multiplied by 2, it's 2, 3, 4, 5, until we reach 10. Now to do that, so here we have our B, then we multiply it with A. So normally what we do here is B1, multiply it with A2, right? So, okay, I forgot here the equal sign, equals, and then there. So if we copy this one here, okay, and then do it like that. So this is the values that will be retrieved, but we don't want that. We just want to retain a specific set or fix the columns and rows here. So let's try to remove this one here. So first thing is we're going to have here equals B1, then multiply it with A2, right? So you can add the dollar sign here in our row, okay, and then on this side here we need to add the dollar sign in our column. So if we press enter, and then if we do it like this, let's check. So it the B stays as the same, and then the row stays as the same. Now if we expand it like this, there we have our multiplication table. Now if you look closely, this one here computes for K1, which is 10, and then multiply it with A11, which is 10. So that will be 10 multiplied by 10 equals 100. Okay, so that is how we apply the use of fixed, relative, or mixed references in Microsoft Excel. So the next item are common errors found in Excel. So what are these common errors? You might have encountered this. So the first item here is that if you would see several pound sign, okay, so it means that column isn't wide enough to display the values. So what we could do is drag or double click on the column header or column border to increase the width, or right click and set the custom column width. Okay, so just in case you see this particular type of error. The next error we have, this one is found name and then the question mark. It means that Excel does not recognize the text in the formula. So what you could do is to make sure that the function names are correct, reference are valid and spelled properly, and quotation marks and colons are in place. The third example is sharp or hashtag value and exclamation. It means that formula has a wrong type of argument. Okay, so if you recall, we had that example earlier. So let's say we have here check the formula and then whether it performs the right operation. Okay, we have here sharp div /0. It means that you are dividing the formula by 0. Okay, so that is not accepted here, so you'll have the error type. So check the value of the divisor. If 0 is correct, then an if statement to display an alternative choice. So we have later an example of the if error. Last is sharp ref exclamation. It means that the formula reference to a cell that is not valid. So make sure that you did not move, delete, or replace cells that are referenced in the formula. So if you see the errors here, so this is the meaning and this is how you solve the type of errors. Okay, now let's move on to if error statement. So the if error statement is an excellent tool to eliminate annoying errors. Okay, so let's say you have NA, div, reference, and so on, right? So to use the if error statement, what we need to do is to supply two information. First is the you start with equal sign if error. Then the first item here is values, and then the second item here is the value if error. So that will be the returning value. So let's say, for example, we're going to divide the number by 0. So A1 divided by B1. So assuming that this one is 0, so it will automatically retrieve us with the error divided by 0, as I showed to you earlier. So to avoid those errors, and you want to have a specific type of error, then you could place or use the if error here. So let's simulate that. Let's go back to Excel. So let's try to remove this line here. So let's say we are computing several values. Okay, so let's say 1, 2. Then let's get the product of the numbers here. Okay, there. So then we have here 3, 4, 2, and then 0, 3, and then 0. That's it. Okay, let's try to do it like this. So let's copy the formula here. Okay. By the way, let's not multiply. Let's divide it. Sorry. Okay. There. Okay. So instead of having this type of error, since we're dividing the number by 0, we can use the if we go back here, the if error statement to, instead of seeing this type of error, we could replace it with text values to make the program more readable instead of having this one. So to do that, what we could do is we start with let's remove the formula here. So start with equals followed by if error function. There you start with the value. So it means that we will be what? Dividing the numbers, that is B1, B2 divided by C2, okay? And then after that, comma, and then if error. So the value, if in case it resulted in an error, so double quote, so let's say invalid formula. Okay, I think that's it. So press enter. So the first item is still correct when we divide 1 to 2, but when we copy the formula here, so instead of seeing, let's also do it here. So that is divided by C2. Okay, it's still the same. So instead of using pound div/0, so you could have it like this, or you could try to change it by saying division by 0 not allowed. Okay, something like that. So if we copy paste the formula here, there, it's more appropriate, since now the user will be able to see, hey, what happened here? So might as well change the value to 3 and then 3. Okay, so something like that. So that is how we use the if error statement. Okay. So the next item here are function shortcuts. So here in Microsoft Excel, we could use the following functions, such as the F4 function that is used in two ways. One is by adding or modifying cell reference types. Okay, in this case, you could somehow use it to somehow rotate the function of your Excel. So with the cursor selecting any reference or array within the formula, the F4 will cycle through the let's say relative or mixed reference types. Or the second one is it might repeat the last action. Okay, so if you don't want to execute the same instruction, you could use that with the F4 statement. Okay. Next, we also have here the F2 function displays the cell range that you are tied to to a given reference. Okay. Next is you also have the control keys. Okay. Control arrow jumps to the left, right, top, or bottom edge, while control shift arrow extends a selection to the left, right, top, or bottom, and control page up and down jumps between the tabs. Now, you could go to this link here for you to see the different shortcut keys available in Microsoft Excel. Now, if you also like to use the Alt keys here, so the Alt keys enables the key tips, which allow you to access the different function ribbon keys. Okay. Now take note that this one only works with Windows. Now I tried it in Mac; it does not display the letters here. So these are the different shortcut keys that you could use. So let's say if you go to Alt and then it shows F for file, H for home, N for insert, and so on. But if you still drill down, you'll be able to see the different options here. So instead of selecting, let's say you want to copy and paste an item, instead of you going to the menu, you could just simply use Alt HVV, that is paste as values, while Alt HV F paste as formula. So the purpose of this one is for you to somehow speed up your operations. Okay. Now, if you're working on a Mac, these are some of the shortcut keys that you can use. So instead of F4 for Mac, you could use Command T. F4 again, Command Y, that allows us to repeat the last user action. F2 is equivalent to Control U. And then you could use here Command Arrow, Command Shift Arrow, and Command Function Up Arrow, that is equivalent to Control Arrow, Control Shift Arrow, and Control Up Page and then down. Okay. Now you could go to this site here for you to see the exact shortcut keys. Now what's so good about this site is it shows the Mac shortcut keys at the same time the Windows shortcut keys. Okay. Now let's move on to our next example. Okay, now we'll go into data validation. Data validation allows you to specify exactly what type of values a cell can contain. Okay, it could be, let's say, whole numbers, positive integers, values, and so on. Okay, now let's go back to Excel. Let's try to remove this line here. So let's say we have here some months. Let's say January. Okay, let's have this one. Okay, so I have here months from January to December. Now, when we say data validation, you go to data here, and then on this section, you see data validation. So what happened is when you click this one here, data validation, it will ask you for different settings. So what we have is, let's say, for example, using lists. So if you click on this item here, list, and then source, you select the item here. Okay, and then you go back, and then I think you need to press OK. That's right. So what happened is that you see a drop down arrow here. So if you click the drop down arrow, you'll be able to select from the list. Okay, so this is useful when we are going to work with dashboards, because you can specifically select items. Okay, so this is what you call data validation in Excel. Okay, let's move on to our last section here, that is fixed and volatile function. So volatile functions are functions or formulas in Excel that change values or change every time the workbook recalculates, such as let's say function now, today, random, offset, and indirect. Okay, so let's try to simulate that. Okay, let's go back here. Let's remove this section here. Now, say we have here equals run. Okay, So this will generate random numbers from 0 to 1. Okay. Next is, if we go to the formula section, then we have here calculate option automatic. Okay, now let's try. Let's say we put a value here, A. Now as you can see here, it's trying to recalculate the values. It's adding values here. Now, to make this one, so this is more on, what's that? So this is a volatile function, meaning the formula changes its value. Now if you want to make it as fixed, okay, what we could do is under the computation option, set this to manual. So if you type here HADJI, it does not compute or add any more values here. So it's now somehow fixed. But let's say you want to do recomputation, you just need to go to automatic to enable computation again. So the purpose of this one is it helps you or saves you time when you have multiple formulas in your program. Okay, so that is the first lecture that we have. So take note, these are the items that we have covered for today's lecture. So we have a definition of Excel, the interface, the formula library, and the auditing tools, which is very useful for us. If you don't know the exact meaning of the formula, again, you could go to the formula section. You go back here, formulas, then you could scroll down to the different sections available. Now, if you have problems, take note, you could go to the auditing tools so that you could be able to trace errors in your formula. So what else? You also have fixed and relative references, the common error messages, that is using the if error, shortcut keys for both Mac and Windows, data validation, and the last one is volatile and fixed functions. Okay, so this is our introduction to fundamentals of data analytics. So I hope you like the video, and then I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.